and just trade off. When a soldier was shot, another soldier would come running down, grab him, drag him out of the way, and someone else would take his place. So there was a soldier's body here, a soldier's body here, one in front of me, one by the door, and one behind Carrie. That would be Gordon. So many people, look back behind them and then turn and whisper and keep looking back behind them. And as guides, we're pretty cool-headed, but there's only so much we can take when we see it looking and whispering, and we have to pry out of you, what the heck is going on? And they all say the exact same thing. We even had a 4-year-old say this to Rusin, one of our guides, Chris Rusin. We are digging the dummy you've got back here. Love the bloodstains on the chest. However, his eyes are wide open and he's staring at us, and we're really getting creeped out. Do you normally have a dummy back there? To which we will reply, no. We never have a dummy back there. We never have a human back there. Number one, there's just not enough room. And two, in the summertime when it's 95 degrees outside, it's 110 up here. And we have a little fan, a little air conditioner. And what's your name?
Mary.
Mary? Got 2 Marys now. Mary's the last person who's going to feel it's going to feel like this on you. What's your name?
Robin.
Everyone from Robin down, everyone back there, me, everyone over there, we're pools of sweat. So if we had a person lying back there all day long, they would be a spirit in this house within hours. There's just no way that they could, we could have anyone back there. So who they're seeing is Gordon. Now, ladies and Carrie, because you're right there, and what is your name?
Michelle.
Michelle, I'm going to warn the two of you. Gordon loves women's butts.
Uh-oh. Where's that go?
He loves, Gordon, it's women. Gordon only goes after women. I don't know what happened to you. Honestly, I don't know. There was no don't ask, don't tell policy back then. So you never know. Gordon is purely, when he was alive, he was kind of, and Gordon, I'm sorry, you were kind of known as a pervert. However,
oh, great.
However, when you're a spirit, because they've been handsy in other places than the butt, and I think he goes after the rear ends now because he's been told off not to grab women where he was grabbing women. He loves women with some badunk in the trunk. There was, in October, and what is your name?
Tammy.
Tammy?
Yeah.
Okay, sitting where Tammy's sitting, in between, and your name?
Norma.
Norma? Sitting between Tammy and Norma. And if I forget your names, I'm very sorry. I'm great with faces. Terrible with names. I will always remember you, Charlie, because of my friend Charlie in the Grove. And now you were Charlie from Texas who had his butt grabbed and getting made now. Sitting a little bit farther, like in between Tammy and Norma, there was a voluptuous blonde. I mean, she was built. Hair piled high, makeup, very pretty, very sweet woman with her huge husband and no one sitting on her other side. I did see her husband with his hands here. I'm talking about Gordon, and she jumps and goes, "Oh my God, someone grabbed my butt!" 10 seconds later, the woman in front of her, "Oh my God, someone grabbed my butt!" Yes, these ladies had a little badunk, and they were pretty. The funny thing is, at the exact same time, a man down where Carrie's sitting leaned back and took a picture. And there is like a stream of smoke, or whatever you want to call it, that goes from that end all the way up to the blonde's rear end.
You see Gordon going.
Got a long reach.
And Gordon, and it was like, and I would have, if she had not jumped up, I mean, if you couldn't see like the very end of her rear end in the picture, I would have said, well, this could have been a lot of things. It could have been the flash. But it just happened that he took the picture as she was jumping up saying, "Someone just pinched my butt." I mean, it didn't feel like a cupping. It was like a boop. These two ladies got goosed good. What always fascinates me is that if Gordon were alive, if he were able to be touched, that he would have had his face slapped so hard, his lips would have flown off his mouth. And the woman's husband would have been like, bam!
Especially back then.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And he was laughing, like, "Oh, my wife got pinched by a ghost." And she's like, "Oh, Gordon, thank you." And the woman's like, "Oh, Gordon, it's okay." I'm like, "Are you serious?" they're not novelties that, oh, it's so sweet, I got pinched by a ghost. It's like you got pinched by a man.
Yeah.
The only difference is, and they don't like really being called ghosts. They prefer to be called spirits. I call them residents. The only difference is they are not in this dimension, so they don't have bodies we can touch and feel and slap. So if he was here, you know, like if Charlie pinched you, he'd be beaten up.
Well, I don't know about that.
It'd be a good fight. We'd be like, yeah! I know who I want to win. Go! North versus South. Again.
South of Rise again. Well, I heard ghosts. You're talking about residents.
If you pinch mine.
You talk to Gordon. You talk to Gordon. I don't know. I think he prefers women, but you never know.
Well, I heard, like, you know, spirits, residents. When they go to do something physical like that, they have to get energy to do that.
Now, here's the thing. They can drain your cell phones, but they all know they have permission to use my energy. As long as I have enough to stand up and go down the stairs and talk, they can use as much as they want. And there are many times I've gotten very dizzy in this house. Walter frequently uses my energy. I don't see him like, oh, I see him right here. I can feel him.
Yeah.
And I know, and he uses my energy to make sure when he really wants me to strongly feel him. Like, I could strongly feel him waiting up in the sitting area where I don't always strongly feel him that much, but I got a little dizzy coming up the stairs. So yeah, they do need energy to do, but sometimes like a pinch, they don't need a whole lot of energy. To push or shove, yes, they need a whole lot of energy. So Gordon's just like, yeah, I'm just going to take a little of energy so I can go boop, like that. So, yeah, again, I know he prefers women, and I know you're really hoping to get your butt pinched.
Just visit the Jenny Wade house.
Yeah, okay. But I can't say for sure that was Jenny or her mother or sister. I don't know who it was. That's the thing.
I mean, told her dad's kind of.
No.
I heard her dad could be kind of vicious, actually.
I don't think he would be cupping you lovingly
Yeah.
if he was going to be vicious unless he really liked you.
They actually did that to Zach Bagans on the Ghost Adventures. He was over top of Jenny's would it be her body, and he got his butt grabbed so hard he hopped off the body.
Yeah.
That
Here's how I feel about Zach Bagans. I hope I'm going to use a word, and if moms, how old are you, sweetheart?
I'm 14.
All right, then I'll use a different word. And you've probably heard it, and it's not a bad word. It refers, you could say a hammer or a saw, that kind of. Do you know what those are?
Yeah.
So I won't say that word. He's a jerk. I think he's very full of himself. I do think he's a little bit sensitive. But I feel like every time Nick has an experience, oh, me too! And if you notice, the man can't put his arms down. It's like, Zach, you're not that big. Put your arms down.
No one wants to see the biceps.
Well, what biceps? He thinks he's like Mr. Muscles. He walks, ho, ho, ho. And he purposely taunts the spirits. So yes, if you're going to...
His hair.
Yeah.
His hair. He's like the biggest goober in the world. He is. I like Aaron. I call him the Scooby Gang, and he's Fred. And Aaron is Shaggy and Scooby rolled into one. Oh, Aaron, this is the scariest part of the house where everyone gets beaten up. You go there. Oh, here's a dead prostitute's room. I'm going in there. Nick, you do whatever you want. So poor Nick, you know, like he had that death in his family, and Zach's like, oh, you sure you have to go? Really? Well, yeah, you go ahead, because we want to make sure Nick's okay. No, you don't. You're glad Nick's out of the picture because Nick is nicer, Nick is cuter, you know, and nobody likes you. Because we watch, because some cool stuff happens, but we just like to make fun of Zach.
What do you think of Ghost Hunters, though?
I don't like them, because one thing I like about Ghost Adventures, even though, and I will say, a lot of EVPs are very clear, not as clear as like you can hear them like I can hear you, but I've heard some really good ones taken in this house. They never sound like, oh, what do you say? I want a pizza? So you know they're like really struggling to find something, and some are clear and some aren't, but at least they play it over and over and over again, and they try to debunk. Ghost Hunters, I have never heard an EVP from them.
They debunk everything.
Yeah, but I've never heard anything from them, and I'm not saying they're not legit.
Except to Myrtle's Plantation, which she and I were at last year, and let me tell you.
Some scary
Someone's
stuff.
head on the bed.
Yeah.
So and I know they had activity there.
Yeah. And I'm not doubting where they were, and I'm not doubting that, because I don't know them. I just don't like that you can't hear anything, that they don't play anything. So how do we know?
Right.
That they're just not making it up, and then now we're going to debunk it because someone might come along and say, no, that's not true. So they're going to have to debunk it. That's how I feel about that. I like Ghost Adventures because they are funny, they're very entertaining. I know they're kind of making stuff up, but
You ever watch the Dead Files?
I love her.
Me too. I love the faces she makes though, where she goes.
Well, there are people who say that's fake face. I say no because she's channeling.
Yeah.
She's channeling these people, and you don't know what's going to happen. She allows the spirits to channel through her.
Her husband gives her some weird looks on the camera and stuff. Though.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she actually got called by the Dead Files. It might be going to her mom's house.
My mom's house is very haunted.
I would love to go to your mom's house then. That's cool. I can't wait. It's like, I know
We were
her!
in the car. She's like, "Who's calling me from California?"
That's Tammy!
And I joked with her because she had contacted Dead Files to her. I said, probably Dead Files. She says, nah. I said, well, just call them and find out. And called
The great thing about the Dead Files is Steve, because he was a huge disbeliever. And he says, I didn't believe in any of this stuff until I met Amy. I don't know how they got together, but I love the fact that he backs up almost everything she says.
He's systematic approach on his part
yeah.
for empirical evidence, and then on her part,
And
she goes through.
It all depends on how much of, like, my job is not to convert you into being a believer. Hopefully the spirits will do that here.
Yeah.
I've always been a big believer, so I do believe in Amy. Like, I don't, there are people who think, yeah, I think Zach's sensitive. I think he's a little sensitive, and he makes a huge deal of it. And he's like, well, I don't talk about it. Well, because you don't have much there to talk about. So you can talk about your biceps, you know. Talk about how you think you're a ladies' man, and they all back away from you.
How your hair deflects wind.
What?
How your haircut deflects the wind.
Yeah, exactly. And if you tell me one more time you're from Las Vegas, I'm going to kick you. That's how we do it in Nevada. I don't care. Yeah, at all, I mean, you can come on in. And it's probably Georgie wanting to come in to listen. It all depends on how much you believe in this stuff, because everyone's going to have their critics and everyone's going to have their believers. So there are a lot of guides here who can see and feel, but we don't usually say anything until we're asked. Because I can come and say, hey, I'm Jenny. It's nice to meet you. Let me read your aura. Let me tell you. And I was like, oh, there's a ghost right there. Oh, I had a group
You ever been to Salem, Massachusetts?
Not yet.
Oh, there's some really freaky people.
I had to squash everything I felt my entire life. It wasn't until I started working here last year that I was so overwhelmed I had to do something about it. I'm not ready to go into these huge haunted places because I think I would pass out just from being overwhelmed, because when I first came here, I would leave so dizzy I could barely make it home.
I don't think you'd like Salem. Very commercialized.
Probably not.
Extremely, yeah.
I'm not into big commercial things. But we had kids here, a Boy Scout troop, Saturday, and they're like, oh, I feel this, oh, I see this. I'm like, no, you don't. I had to tell these boys, you're not seeing that. That's not happening. The cold spots they were feeling, yes, they were real. But it's like, I think I see Walter. I think I see. It's like, no. Walter very seldom shows himself. I haven't seen Walter, and he follows me everywhere. He comes home with me sometimes because I let him.
What about your husband? Is he like okay that?
My husband is one of those. I refer to Walter as my boyfriend. I am digging on Walter. Walter is digging on me. I tell people my soulmate died 150 years ago. Walter, all right. I will get into Walter because Walter's my bud. Has anyone ever been here before and heard any of the other storytellers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a few years ago.
Did you ever hear of W, He Who Shall Not Be Named, the red-headed soldier?
I think I remember the story about the redheaded.
Okay, that's Walter. He gets a bad rap around here. He's got a short temper. He had a very domineering, bossy, abusive mother. And he said, to get away from her, I'm going to get married. And he married the same type of woman. Very mean, nasty, cheating woman. So to get away from her, he's like, I'm going to join the Confederate Army. He didn't join because it was going to be glorious. He didn't join because that's where the money was. He joined to get away from his wife and mother. And unfortunately, while he was away, he received a Dear Walter letter. Now, I know you two are too young to date, but the rest of us kind of know the pain of having someone break up with us, except for you. What's your name?
Don.
Don. You will look like the biggest heartbreaker ever. But I think the rest of us kind of understand.
His last name's Juan.
Don Juan, yeah. No, not surprising. So I think
If you only knew.
I think most of us kind of understand how much it hurts to have, even though he didn't love his wife, it was a big blow to his ego. Here's, I'm leaving you for someone else. And then, unfortunately, he ends up here. So he was very angry. His last thoughts were of anger and hurt. And they call him the brooding one. So when people see him, he's usually got his kepi pulled down. And it wasn't like a short kepi. He had the forage cap. And it's pulled down to his eyes, and he's usually looking and he's checking out, you know. But he's done some things that give him a bad rap. Now, he doesn't just strike out at people. There are people he doesn't like bossy, domineering women. And I had a group last year. One woman was with her 4 friends sitting in the very back of the cellar. She would not shut up. The guy that was with Tom made the mistake of, has anyone had an experience here? So she's constantly raising her hand and talking over me. I'm trying to talk about Walter. So at this point, I knew Walter was digging me and he wanted to hang around. And I'm trying to talk about all the great stuff he does for me and how much I like him. And she would not stop interrupting me. Now, I could see her, even though it's dark, and I could see when she walked in, she had short hair, she had a pair of sunglasses on her head. Well, this time she doesn't just interrupt, she raises her hand and says, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Yes." Hoping this was the last time she was going to say something. I said, "Well, somebody pulled the sunglasses off my head and now they're broken." And she picks them up and an entire arm was missing. Well, it's a brick floor. So if a pair of sunglasses falls off, you're going to hear it because the only sound was me talking. And I know I'm loud. I'm not that loud. And she stopped talking after that. And they thought, that's cool. And I said, "Well, there's Walter for you." And I didn't want to say you're very domineering and he doesn't like you. And I didn't want to say I wish you just shut up. But, he was just saying, "Look, she's trying to talk about me. Please be quiet." And that was one of the nicer ways he let himself be known. All of the guides here believe in one form or another. Like I said, I'm a huge believer. To me, these are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings that just do not have physical bodies such as we. And that's how I try to treat them. Therefore, I believe they respect me. There was a young girl here a few years ago who did not believe in any of this stuff. And we say, please never taunt a spirit because you never know what's going to happen. But never taught Walter. Because he does have a short temper. And of course, this girl's sitting by herself in the back pew. There's no one sitting around her. And she's like, she's under her breath taunting Walter. "Walter, I hate red hair. Walter, you're stupid." And I do want to say Walter is a very handsome man. At least in my mind, he is. But she's like, "You're ugly, you're dumb, you're a hick, redneck." The pew starts to shake. And you would think she would just shut up. But no, she gets up and moves to the green plastic chairs in front of her. No one around her. And she starts in again. "The Confederacy was stupid. You guys deserve to lose. You are morons." Nobody grabbed her by the back of the hair, jerked her head back, and slammed it forward into the chairs in front. If I'd been there, I would have been laughing. Now, I believe it was Cliff who was down there. I can't remember. It was either Cliff or Dave, who's no longer here. And by no longer here, he's not dead. He just doesn't work here anymore. As I was telling Hope, no one's died here in about 2 months. I did my best to revive him. I did not know he had a heart condition. And I'm just teasing Hope. Because I had her going all night long. She's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." I can't remember who the guide was, but I'm sure he was controlling himself not to laugh. Because we do see and feel things, and we know if you're going to be mean, you're going to deserve what you get. And I am very twisted, which I guess maybe you can tell by now. I would have enjoyed that more than anything. And she got up and ran out the door and disappeared for 20 minutes where no one could get in contact with her. She then came downstairs, apologized, and said, "Walter, I'm very sorry. It will never happen again." Walked up to Patty, the cute little redhead from whom you bought your tickets, and said, "I quit," and never came back in the house. She did join up with another tour group, working there. I don't know if she's still there, and every once in a while she would come in front of the Farnsworth House and talk about how Walter and the black eye he gave her made her a believer. He has also slapped a woman for taunting him, and possibly scratched someone for taunting him. One of my favorite stories was told by Cliff, because it was him this happened to. They're down in the cellar, and there's a woman and her husband sitting in the front row next to the closet door down there. And suddenly she gets up and goes, "I gotta get out of here!" Cliff is about, 5'10"? Little well-fed, little, it would be very hard for a small woman to knock him over, but this woman nearly ran him over. Now, the door downstairs, it takes me about 3 or 4 times of hurling my body as hard as possible to get that open. She ran into the door, bounced back, said something I will not say in front of children, and had Cliff open the door for her and ran out into the cold and disappeared. Now, the man who was with her, we are praying was her husband. Because if he was not, they cannot, I'm sure they're not together anymore. Because he looked at Cliff and went, eh. And stayed for 40 more minutes while Cliff finished his stories.
Oh my goodness.
When he was done, this man and Cliff went to find this woman, and they found her sitting on the porch where we all met. She was very unhappy. And Cliff wanted to know what happened. I will say we are very caring. If something scary happens, we do want to make sure you're okay. It's not because we're worried about lawsuits, because you're in a haunted house. If you're going to get scared,
Part of the thing.
yeah, don't come to a haunted house. And basically what she told Cliff was she was sitting, and she felt something behind her that did not seem happy. And she didn't do anything. She just kind of sat there, and she felt a pair of hands go around her neck. There was nobody sitting behind her. And she looked down at her husband or boyfriend. He had his hands like this. It was at this point she jumped up, nearly ran Cliff over, ran into the door, and waited for him to open the door. This was quite a fascinating story. She didn't do anything to deserve it. I do not think it was Walter saying, I don't like you because you're bossy. I think it was a different spirit in the house who just did not like her. However, boy, what a great story, and I would have loved to have been in the audience for that one. So Walter, he really is a very good guy. He's a good man. He just had his ego badly damaged. He had a very rough life. I believe he's happier now. My first experience with Walter was sitting down in the cellar while I was training. I went through 2 months of training before they let me tell my stories on my own. So the first time I was down in the cellar, I wasn't wearing this. I was just in regular clothes. I was sitting with my 13-year-old. She's 14 now. She was 13 at the time. And it's just me and her sitting in this front row next to the door. And Cliff is talking. And you can notice a lot of my stories involve Cliff and me. For some reason, Cliff and I just keep coming together for whatever reason. And he's saying, he who shall not be named, W, the red-bearded soldier. And I did explain Lord Voldemort to Walter. Not happy, by the way, about learning who that man is, who that is. To learn you are compared to the most evil character ever written about. More evil than Dracula, They're not making him real happy. So I felt a presence. I could feel something staring at me from that mirror. And when you go in that downstairs and you look at that mirror, you're going to feel something there, because that's not our mirror. And I thought, well, I don't feel good about this. And then I felt someone sit next to me. And I felt, or I should say, no one sit next to me, and no one step on my foot. And I'm to my Stephanie, do you feel that? Do you feel that? She's like, no, Mom, shut up. I can't hear. And I'm like, he's stepping on my foot. She's like, shut up. No one stepped on my foot for half of Cliff's storytelling. First, it was sitting next to me, and then later he was stepping on my foot, and it hurt. It didn't was like, oh my God, it's a pain, but there was pressure on my toes. It was Walter. After Cliff was done, because I was like, I know it's him. I know it's W. I know it's Lord Voldemort sitting next to me. What did I do? I'm not saying anything. I'm a nice person. Cliff said, yeah, that's Walter, because I wanted to know, because I was going to have to know anyway. And I was telling Stephanie, he's like, holy, whatever, Walter was sitting next to me, stepping on my foot. He doesn't like me. I could feel his anger. What's going on? Well, later, I was using my spirit rods, and I was talking to Walter, and I was having a conversation with him. It turns out I remind him of his wife, which means she must have been freaking adorable. But I am a nice person. I'm not bossy. I'm not going to tell him what to do. I'm not going to be mean to him. So he decided, yes, he likes me, and he is going to protect me while I'm in this house. So he is the only spirit who has my permission to come home with me, in and out of my home, whenever he wants. Does my husband like it? No. My husband is what we call a believing skeptic. He kind of believes, but he wants absolute proof. The only reason why he believes is because he knows what I feel, and he believes that, sort of. And he has seen other people have experiences. He has heard my stories of my experiences. Walter hates him. Not, I don't like your husband. Your husband does not deserve you. Your husband stinks. Your husband is mean to you. You need to leave your husband type of I hate your husband. He would rather me be with anyone but my husband at this point. And yes, Shane is jealous, but my husband Shane, but he will not admit it. And I would say, Shane, do you realize you're jealous of a spirit? But there are times I think, well, maybe you should be. He's only 21. He's built and he's good looking. So Walter's room is the McFarland room, and I did stay there about 4 weekends ago by myself. I can't wait to stay there again. I love it in this house, and I've told Patty several times, I've told Mr. Schultz, I wish I could live here. If you could find a way, Mr. Schultz, for me to live here, I'll bring my daughter. I don't care if my husband wants to stay in the house. But I want to live here. I will live here. I will clean for you for free if I can live here. This is the only place I have had complete peace in my life. I think because the spirits are so respectful of me that they are not going to mess with me here. However, when I did stay here, and for you ladies, has anyone ever stayed here before? Okay. If you ever stay here, like these lovely ladies have done, just the two of you are staying, or who do you belong to?
My dad.
Oh, down there? Okay. He's like, you're old. And how old are you again?
14.
Okay, that's the age, isn't it? Now I do see
You
resemblance. Yeah. My daughter, again, sometimes she loves me and I'm the coolest person in the world. It's like, sometimes, Mom, you're an embarrassment. I discovered the age where you're no longer cool is 42. It's like somehow 42 is the magic number. Poop, you're not cool anymore. But I came there, and my daughter came with me to check in because we were going to walk around town and go to the cemeteries. And I could feel Jeremy saying, toy, where's my toy? Where's my toy? You don't have a toy. Why didn't you bring me a toy? I want a toy. Go get a toy. He was like, Jeremy, shut up. So I said, Stephanie, we forgot a toy. We have to now go buy a toy. And I had to bring her home anyway. So, and there have been people, there was a woman here months ago who said he was actually going this to her back. And she heard him saying, toy, 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 toy. And she's like, all right, already. And she had to go out and buy him a toy. So whenever you stay here, you will find in the drawers or in baskets down there are toys for Jeremy. I will thank you on behalf of Nan and Mary for bringing them gifts. The soldiers, well, now they might be jealous because they were never jealous of the kids. But now I'm kind of thinking, well, why aren't we getting anything?
Well, we'll tell you something. I know we're not supposed to bring food, but we have M&Ms.
I would
they
say
are welcome to the M&Ms.
they can't eat.
But they can throw them around and
Yeah, they could. I will say, please bring the M&Ms with you when you leave.
Oh, we will.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just saying.
Because if they find food, it will get back to Mr. Schultz, and he'll be like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
They don't want eating, and really, people aren't supposed to drink, but they bring wine and beer and stuff.
What about like a Playboy?
That,
They probably
I will tell you,
The articles.
Walter just went, what? And Gordon sat up and went, what? So you just made two friends. If you want to stay here and bring a Playboy, I will tell you the soldiers will love you forever. They seriously will. I will not say don't do it,
I have to ask.
but bring it with you and bring it home with you.
She wasn't feeling well. I can't talk. She wasn't feeling well this morning. I went down to have tea. She soaked in the tub, and she thought somebody crawled in with her.
it just felt like I was sitting there. Well, we're at the door right there, and all of a sudden it just felt like something was behind me in the bathroom. I'm like,
There was, a few summers ago, a woman. Now, we don't normally allow children to spend the night under the age of 14. Every once in a while, they allow it. And there was a woman with a baby, and she was in the shower, and she felt like someone was in the shower with her. She ran out screaming, grabbed her baby, and ran out downstairs into the terrace where people were eating wearing nothing but a baby.
Oh.
Something's in my shower! And the hostess had the presence of mind to say, ma'am, probably just a spirit, would you please go put some clothes on? Yeah, she ran down completely naked with her baby. At least she grabbed her baby. I guess if she could have grabbed her clothes and left the baby. Hopefully that wasn't a soldier, although I'm thinking, Gordon, you're a bad, bad boy.
You freaking perv.
There's a woman who's not happy that a spirit got into the tub with her.
It was just so odd because I was like, what?
I think it's just because she wasn't feeling well.
However, Mary is the nurse. She is kind of like, she takes care of the house. And she does, when I stayed here, I was sick. I had to do a tour. I didn't want to, but I did it out of the goodness of my heart so the other guy could go home. I could barely talk. I was very dizzy, but there was no way I wasn't spending the night here. I had my reservation. I wanted to stay. Mary, I think, came to me because I could hear in my head saying it's going to be all right. And that was my first real experience with Mary. However, she came to my daughter the first time she was here because when we left, all the emotions and all that, it was too much for her, and we could smell the roses when we walked in and out of the gift shop. So it was Mary saying, it's going to be all right.
Okay.
So it may have just been Mary coming to you. However, there's something that makes me want to say, no, it was Gordon. And if you give me those, we'll find out.
Anyway, you feel better, right? She does feel better.
I told you, it's been 150
Well, I don't
years.
know, man. I got all that stuff pretty damn quick.
Gordon, and could you, I'm going to, wait, Mary and
Robin.
Thank you. Gordon, did you get into the bathtub with Robin today? You better be honest, dude. There you go. Yeah, you know she thinks you're a pervert. Do you feel, are you going to apologize? Okay. Just goose her rear end and it will be forgiven. All right?
No, I'm watching my ass.
So we asked one more last night. We both felt it. We didn't say anything. Me?
You can try it. Now again.
No, I thought you were.
Oh, I can. Because I was saying they don't work for everybody because they're charged with my energy.
Right. We didn't tell each other. I didn't tell her when it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us. Mm-hmm. She flew in. We drove here. The way I described the bed moving was about 2 years ago. Jersey had that earthquake that hit, and I was in my car. So it was almost like me and my car, the body, was standing still, but the engine was going like this.
That's what the bed felt like.
That's how the
bed?
She
Okay.
says to me later on, did you feel that? And I'm like, yeah, and I didn't say anything. So, but it wasn't a shaking. It was like a rolling.
Did anyone get on the bed with these two ladies last night? My hand jerked, sorry. I get twitchy because they move my hands. Jeremy, was that you, sweetie? There you go. The soldiers don't normally get in bed with people.
Okay.
They might stand and watch and figure, how do I get in bed with these people?
Well,
But they
trust
normally
me,
don't.
nobody wants this.
If you ever, no, you don't know. If you ever stay in here overnight and you wake up and there's a soldier staring at you, because every soldier has a room, or they try to have a room, like Michael usually stays downstairs, but like Walter stays in the McFarland room. You know,
He stays in the Sarah Black room.
Jeremy,
Fine, yeah.
and sometimes Sissy. If you ever see a spirit just looking at you, say, all right, as long as you don't snore, climb in, because they don't take up a lot of room. You'll roll right through them. So Jeremy never lived here. We have 14 spirits in this house. Not all of them were soldiers. Not all of them lived here. In 1855, he was outside in front of the house. Now, Jeremy is 8 years old. He's cute. He's blonde. And for an 8-year-old, he's maybe about the size of a 6-year-old. He's very tiny. So in 1855, he was outside of this house in the front playing a game that we might consider to be like chicken by today's standards, where, I'll give this back to you. Thank you. Where you would find a team of horses, slap one on the rear end, they go crazy, kid runs in front of them. The more horses you get away from, the more points you earn. Now, Jeremy was kind of new to this game, and again, very tiny. He chose a very large team of horses with a very large carriage attached to it. And he slapped the one horse. They went crazy. and he ran in front, but he slipped and fell, and he did not get away. Every horse trampled him, and he was run over by the carriage. Now his father William was across the street, and he saw what happened, and he ran and he scooped up his little boy and carried him into this house, into the master bedroom, which is now the Sarah Black room, and into the nursery, which is now the bathroom. Where that rug is where we believe, or at least I believe, William sat down on the floor, and he cradled his little boy, and he cried, and he begged, Jeremy, you can't die. Please don't leave me, Jeremy. Well, the doctor came, but there was nothing he could do, and Jeremy passed away. Now, we feel like Jeremy originally stayed in this house because of William's crying. However, we feel like he's still here today because he's having way too much fun with messing with all of you to ever want to leave. You've had experience already. What happened?
I took him home.
What happened? Did you tell him to stay?
Well, no, see, I didn't know that until I met you.
Yeah, so that's why he went home with you.
I've only honestly been here a month, okay, and I've had 5 experiences. And I'm not one of those that was open to it, so I thought. I am now. Twice I've had chills in the Sarah Black room just because I'm somehow related to her, being local, my mother's side, anyhow. Jeremy, I've had 3 experiences with. Twice in the bookstore, and once I took him home with me. Y'all are going to think I'm nuts. I quit smoking before I started working here. I was smoke-free for 31 days. After I started here, everybody smokes like a chimney in here. So I was nervous one day, and I said to my boss, see, I'm starting to feel tight. Should I not be talking about this?
No, it's fine. It's not Jeremy doing it.
I know.
There's someone else behind you.
I sat down.
Yeah, you know who's back there.
Is it Gordon or Walter?
Walter's here.
Okay, so it's Gordon. All right.
Yeah, Jeremy loves it when you tell stories about him.
Oh, well, little stinker, I'll tell you, he freaked me out.
Mhm.
Anyway, I heard Jeremy run past me twice in the bookstore. Then I asked my boss for a cigarette. Okay.
Hattie gave you a cigarette.
No, Bonnie.
Oh, okay.
Bonnie gave me a cigarette.
I didn't know Bonnie. Well, I've only talked to Bonnie, so I don't really know her yet.
Yeah. So I was so guilt-ridden. Because when you quit smoking and then you pick that cigarette back up, you're just like, ugh. I mean, you can ask my daughter. I did not tell a soul that I smoked that cigarette.
She only told me once in the car, and that was only like a month or 2 ago.
Yeah, but that wasn't when I was here. That wasn't when I slipped the first time. Anyhow. Hush. So the next morning, I've got all the children off to school except the 5-year-old. And I looked at the 5-year-old, and he goes, Mommy. And he was so matter of fact, it scared me. He goes, Mommy. And I said, yes, William. And he goes, I thought you quit smoking. And I said, well, William, I did. Why? And he goes, then why does your boss give you cigarettes? It totally freaked me out.
Can I tell you why Jeremy went home with you?